Are you the Wolfman?
I'm just an ordinary average guy. Some people call me the space cowboy.
I am paying for this microphone.
Some people call me Maurice.
There's a great, big, beautiful world out there. And here I sit, sucking on popsicles.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 32 of the Imbasciani Chronicles. Thank you for continuing this journey with me. On today's episode, we're going to get into it. Okay, no more recaps, none of that. No, we're going to get right into it. And this is what a lot of musicians, myself included, I love seeing stuff like this. It's a behind the scenes. And for those of you out there who aren't musicians, you might enjoy checking out this and maybe get a deeper understanding of the gear that we are using. This is a rig rundown of what I use at the shows for my band, Mike Imbasciani and his BluezRockerz. Before we get into that, don't forget, make sure you like this video. Comment down below maybe what one of your favorite parts of my gear is. If you enjoy the pedals and the artwork on the pedals, that's one of my favorite parts. I get to look at them every time I step on them on my pedal board. And share this video with your friends, your musician friends, your non-musician friends, and maybe they'll get a kick out of it as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow the channel, and so please subscribe to the channel and hit that the little bell, the little notification bell. That way you know whenever a new video is posted. We do music videos on here, the live music videos from my shows, whether it's the Simply Clapton shows, which is my Eric Clapton tribute show that I do, or if it's just the Mike Imbasciani and his BluezRockerz show, the now new videos that I'm doing called the Loft Sessions, a little more acoustic guitar work, and a lot of stuff right here on the channel, trying to boost the channel a little more. So today is a rig rundown, so we're going to be talking all about some of the guitars that I'm using, like Sparkle here, which is my main #1 guitar, and if you notice, it is the guitar that is in my logo there that I had created. Those were the top 2 guitars that I was using at the time. There was my Sparkle Strat, and this red Strat here is based off of my Fender Custom Shop Michael Landau signature model Strat that I have. Now you might say, well, I haven't seen you play a red guitar in quite a long time. That's because I've been playing my blue guitar that I have, which is a 2021 Corey Wong signature model Fender Stratocaster, and that kind of took the place of the Michael Landau Strat. So, but we're getting ahead of myself a little bit. So we're gonna dive into the whole rig. So if you look at this picture right here, this is a bit of a collage of what I'm using right now. On the top, you have the amp head that I have, which is a 1969 Fender Twin Reverb that has been put into a head unit. And I'll explain what that means in a moment when I show just a picture of the amp. Those are the cables that I use on top by the Rattlesnake Cable Company out of Missoula, Montana. They make great cables. I really enjoy using them. On the bottom left picture there, you see the 2 main Fender Stratocasters that I use, and we'll go into more detail about them. And on the right is the modern version of the pedalboard that I use right now with the pedals on it, and it has gone through quite a few different versions, and we'll get into that. But first and foremost, it is of course the #1 guitar that I use. I'm a big Fender Stratocaster fan, and I bought this guitar, and the reason why I'm gonna say this too is I love the body style of a Fender Stratocaster. To me, it's the best guitar ever designed. If you disagree, leave a comment. Tell me why. You like playing Gibson Les Pauls better, or Gibson SG, or a PRS? Tell me why you enjoy that more than maybe you enjoy a Fender Strat. But for me, the design of the guitar, the weight of the guitar, the sounds that you can get out of a guitar like this, to me, are incredible, and that's why I have constantly, over my 20 years of playing, have consistently played a Fender Stratocaster. Now, one of the points I want to bring across too, and I'll say this in future episodes when I just talk specifically about a guitar, is you don't need to have a $3,000 guitar. I bought this Fender Stratocaster for $150 at Guitar Center, and when I bought that, it's a made in Indonesia Fender Strat Squire. And now, granted, if you look at the picture, you can see that it doesn't look very stock anymore, and that's because it's not. The neck has been changed. It's a Warmoth 3A flame maple neck, and the pickguard has been changed, and the pickups have been changed, and even the saddles, and a lot of the guitar has been changed. The only thing that is original, funny enough, is the body and the paint. So that's something you can do. You don't have to spend $5,000, $3,000 on a guitar. You can spend a lot less and then just upgrade it, and that's exactly what I did. And to me, that it is the perfect guitar because I can manipulate it in any way that I need to get the sound that I want to get out of it. The pickups are Seymour Duncan pickups with a Seymour Duncan Pearly Gates humbucker in the bridge position, which is the nice little double pickup that you see on near the bottom of the guitar. And as I mentioned, the other guitar that I'm using now is this bad boy, which is a 2021 Fender American Corey Wong signature model. If you don't know who Corey Wong is, he's one of the guitar players in the band Wolfpack, as well as he has his own band, Corey Wong and the Wong Tones, and a very funky player. I love playing this guitar because of his signature pickups that are in it as well. The difference between this guitar and the red guitar that I mentioned before, that was my number 2 on gigs before I got this one, is this one has locking tuners, which in a live gig environment for me makes changing strings if I break one on a gig that much easier, as well as it has a 22nd fret instead of just 21 frets. And to me, as you know, the soloing that I do, you might think it not comes into play, but for me it does on certain occasions. So that's why this Corey Wong guitar just has a little bit of an edge on my red guitar, my red Fender Strat that I was using before I got this one. And then that brings me to the amp. I love Fender Twin Reverbs. To me, the Fender Twin Reverb, it's an 85 watt amp, which normally, as you see here, you see the amp in a head unit. And the head unit, what that means is as long as the ohms and wattage are correct, you can use a head unit on a lot of different cabinets. You could have 1 speaker in a cabinet, 2 speakers, and up to 4 speakers. And that's, you know, the classic half stack sound that you might see Jimi Hendrix use with his Marshall half stack amp. So for me, a twin reverb originally should only be in that bottom part that you see there in the cabinet. There are 2 12-inch speakers in there, hence the name twin reverb, and then the reverb is the sound that is added in the amp. Basically, you don't need a reverb pedal if you just use the amp, the reverb in the amp. So I had the chassis of the amp taken out of the cabinet and put into the head unit there. That head unit was made for me, and the whole amp was rebuilt for me. You can take a picture. That's what the inside of the amp looks like. Rebuilt by a fantastic amp builder. His name is Mike Skaggs. He's out of Tennessee. You can find him at p2pamps.com. He rebuilds amps. He has his own amps that he makes now, and he does amazing work. I love all the amps that I have that he has built. He even built me a reverb tank as well. But I love the amp. He put it into the head unit for me. It has been my go-to amp. I've had it maybe almost 10 years now, if not more than 10 years. It's fantastic. I can't beat the sound. To me, a Fender Twin Reverb is great because of the 85 watts and the tube power that it has. It can stay clean for so long. So for me, that allows me to use my pedals and get the drive that I want to have from my pedals. So that perfectly brings me to my pedal world, and anybody who knows me knows I love Walrus Audio. Walrus Audio is based out of Oklahoma, and this is my pedal board that I'm using right now. And you might say, wow, that is a lot. And it is a lot, but it is quite simple as well, and it needs to be cleaned up a little bit, but it gets the job done. One of the older looks of my pedal board was this, actually. So we'll start with this and the way it worked. The 12 that you see, we'll start on the top right. The 12 is my wireless unit that I use, which is a Shure wireless unit, and that goes into the pedal directly on its left, which is a Peterson tuner pedal, which a lot of people have always lived by, and they're extremely accurate. Next to that, the little scuba guy that you see there, that is a Walrus Audio Deep 6 compressor, which I no longer use, but I used it a little bit in this version of the pedal board, and that allowed me to get a little more of that country sound that I wanted. That goes into the wah pedal on the bottom right that you see, which gives that wah 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 Voodoo Child Jimi Hendrix sound. And then comes my array of overdrives, which starts and has originally started with that Fulltone OCD pedal you see, obsessive compulsive drive, and that I got the first time I went to Nashville because I wanted to get an overdrive pedal, and that was the first overdrive pedal I have ever gotten, and it's still the same one. I love it. It's my always on. So when I say that the twin reverb is so clean, the OCD gives it that nice little, not crunch, but that little bit of drive, just so it's not ringy in your ears. And then the one next to that is the Walrus Audio Warhorn, and that is what I use for my main overdrive for my solos. And that is what gives me really my tone that I love so much, and that drive. And then on that, you can stack anything you want. In this version of the pedal board, next to it's my Mjölnir X, which was a little bit of a harder overdrive. And then we'll get into the other pedals next to it. But we'll go back to what the modern version of the pedal board looks like now. So you can see things are a little different. On the bottom, there's a pedal called a Transit 5, and you notice there's 5 switches. And I have that laid out so I can have the OCD plugged into one, the Warhorn plugged into the other. The one next to the Warhorn with the elephant there, that's called the Ages by Walrus Audio, and that is another overdrive that I can stack on top of the Warhorn. Next to that is the Mythos Pedals Mjölnir overdrive. He's a smaller pedal company out of Tennessee as well, and he makes a lot of very, very good overdrives. And so those are stacked where I can push a different button on the Transit, and that'll turn those pedals on. That way I don't have to actually tap on the Walrus pedal itself to get it to go into action. So it saves the buttons on the pedals from breaking. And it keeps everything more in a centralized location on the bottom of the pedal board, instead of my foot having to reach over and step onto one of the other Walrus pedals and risk my heel of my foot, hitting on one of the other pedals below it and practically moving one of the knobs or accidentally turning it on. After that, my other pedals that I use for different modulation is a delay pedal, which is the Walrus Audio ARP 87. I then use a Walrus Audio Monument for tremolo, which is sort of like using your whammy bar on your Strat, but it's a more steady sound that you can use throughout instead of having to use your whammy bar on your guitar. And those are the two sideways looking pedals. The blue pedal on the bottom left, that is called the Lillian, and that is a phaser by Walrus, and I use that for a couple songs, and to me, I have it dialed in to where it sounds like a what do they call those for an organ? Tell me what the word I'm missing in the comments below. And next to that, the one with the eyeball is the Walrus Audio Luminary, which to me I have it dialed in where I can make it sound like two guitars at the same time, and it's a octave pedal. And above that is the Walrus Audio DEFCON 4, which they have rebranded into the EB10. So it's quite a lot, and that's the rig. Goes from the guitars into the wireless unit into throughout that entire pedal board, over to the Fender Twin Reverb rebuilt by Mike Skaggs, p2pamps.com, if you're interested in any amps like that. And you can check out all of the music videos that I have on this page using, and here's a look at what Sparkle used to look like before the newer neck and the gold pickguard. You can see the difference. But go check out some of my other videos, and you can hear that pedal board, amp, and those guitars in action there. That is my main rig. I can get into some of the guitars that I use for the Simply Clapton show in some other videos as well. But I hope you've enjoyed this video, and keep it right here on YouTube, or if you're watching this on Spotify or listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, comment down below maybe what your favorite pedal looked like, and or if you use any Walrus audio stuff, tell me what you like that you might think might sound better than what I'm using. And let me know what you think about the amp, the guitars, anything about that. Thank you folks for watching. And if you really enjoy the show, you can leave a tip on Venmo at Mike-Imbasciani-1. There's a link to the Venmo in the description below as well. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video.